Mana mana do 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 do. Mana mana do 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 do. Mana mana do 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 do.
Mana mana. Mana mana. Mana mana. Hello and welcome to All Lockdown How We Laugh with today's very special guest from Sounds Proper Comedy, Colin Etches and Rachel Morton-Young. Colin's been on the show before, but this is the first time for Rachel. Yeah. And we're both here to talk about Nottingham Comedy Festival, which is happening on the 12th of November. And if we've done our jobs, that's tomorrow. And it's running from the 12th of November to the 20th of November. There's loads of shows on we'll hear about in a minute, and I'll be going down to do some live podcasting and take some photographs of the acts, and almost as an afterthought, do a few comedy sets. So how are you guys doing today, man? Start with Colin.
I'm all right, matey. I'm pretty good. Can't complain.
Well, I know we've heard all the complaining.
Yeah, we've done all the complaining up there. But
you've heard mine.
I've run out of things to say now.
We got all the complaining out the road before we've done the podcast. It's going to be all positivity from here on in.
It is. No, I'm all right, Jimmy. I'm really, really good.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. I'm really looking forward to coming down, man. What about you, Rachel? How's things for you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, busy, obviously. We're just busy looking after all the comics and getting all the admin and getting everything ready for next week. It's quite exciting. Yeah.
So it's on the 12th it starts. I know you're doing, Colin, you're doing the Alex Liam's Awkward Question Time live. Is that on the 12th?
Not over the festival. No, I'm doing that later in the month. I'm doing,
right.
Doing a few bits in the run up, because obviously our events don't start till the 19th.
Yeah.
We're covering the last weekend, the 19th, 20th, and 21st. But we're doing a few bits. We're doing Den of Fools with Dental Lead.
Cool.
On next Thursday, which is a improv and panel show.
Yeah.
That me and Rachel have been hooked in for.
Yeah, and we're doing the Canal House on the Wednesday, right?
Yeah, the 17th as well.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the 19th today actually arrive, so we'll probably catch that.
Brilliant.
Yeah. It's.
Are you coming down on the Thursday?
I'm coming down on the Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, you'll be able to see that.
Yeah. It's my train gets at 2:30. So
yeah. We should probably put a disclaimer on. Both me and Jimmy are puffing cigarettes. We should probably say something like, we don't advocate smoking and we'd like you not to do it at home.
Yeah, but also that we're trying to revive the 70s chat show vibe. It's a political statement, not an unhealthy life choice. We miss Parkinson.
Those smoking on television, do you know what I mean? You don't even see it on the soaps now, do you?
Yeah. See, they never thought about that when they shut down in the racism. They get rid of the smoking as well. Brown suits and the smell of ale and stuff. They didn't think about these things when they changed things in the 70s.
But yeah, so we got loads of stuff planned now, haven't we, Jimmy?
Yeah, man, loads of stuff. It's going to be great, man. It's going to be a great weekend. So we're starting on 19. So Rachel, what's first on the agenda for Sounds Proper?
Right. So I'm just looking at the list and it's huge. So we got like 24 hours of comedy over the whole 3 days. Wow. So we're gonna start. We're starting every day. I'm just looking at the thing in front of me now. We're starting off every day with an open mic, the proper mic from the festival. So it'll give everyone a chance to come along. It's a free show. Just come along, and everyone who's sort of playing that day will just come and do a little 5-minute set. So it gives people a bit of a taster for who they can get to see. And we've got that every day. We've got that on the Friday, the Saturday, and the Sunday of the festival. So that's how we're going to kick off. And then we've just got like a really, really mixed up lineup. I'm just looking at some of the stuff we've got. We've got, lots of mixed shows as well. We've got a whole bunch of people coming over from Ireland that are doing the Crack Dealers, the best in new Irish comedy, which I'm really looking forward to. I think that'll be fun. Loads of people coming because I'm based in the Netherlands. So we've got loads of people coming over. We've got about 12 comedians coming over from the Netherlands. And we've got some really interesting shows. We've quite a few mixed shows. Some people doing a full hour. There's something for everybody.
And you've got I'm quite excited about getting to meet some people who've been on the show in person for the first time, like if you can.
Yeah.
And I've met Donna at the Fringe, but I'll get to meet Donna again, Donna Landy. and she's done a split show with someone. I can't remember who it is though.
Yeah,
with Fedor.
yeah,
I mean,
right.
You couldn't get two more opposite comedians. how they've knocked a show up together, I'm amazed with them. They work so hard, them two as well. They're kind of our stars, aren't they, Fedor and Donna?
Yeah, and they've never met in real life. That's the really cool thing. A lot of people who are playing together haven't met in real life. So Fedor's based over here in the Netherlands, although actually he's just moved to Bulgaria because it's cheaper. So he's just bought a place in Bulgaria, and he's gone full-time now comedian.
And so when's their show? When's the
their
time?
show is on the just looking, it's on the it's at 2:30 in the afternoon on the Sunday, and it's called Mr. and Misfits. It sounds so fun. I'm going to tell you a bit about it. It sounds really good. Okay, it says if there's a bit missing in your life, don't panic. It's probably just been nicked for a brand new show, Mr. and Mrs. Fitz, by Fedor Ikla and Donna Landy. For years, they scoured the world for their missing pieces, only for their paths to cross at the Nottingham Comedy Festival. They were shocked to discover they have so much in common. He is Dutch, while she likes Dutch courage. He ran off to Nepal, while she is trans and growing her nipples. He makes his fumbling abroad in exotic places sound hilarious, while she just likes a bit of fumbling abroad. He is at peace with being missing, while she has found her missing piece and is busy trying to get it surgically removed. I just love the way that they've explained their show. I just think it's brilliant. You know, the fact, I mean, we've got a few couples that are people that are doing split shows.
Friday, Carly Blair, it was a comic, and she's doing a split show with
Samantha
today, and I'm really looking forward. Again, there are other stars. They work so hard to come up with a show concept because what people that aren't comedy savvy might not realise is that when we do a split hour, we try and tie our material in so that there's still a running theme, even though and
cohesion.
Yeah, for four comics that have never met each other to be able to create a situation where, and especially Fedor and Donna, I mean, you couldn't get, Fedor for me is the Dutch Henning Vane. Do you know what I mean? You couldn't get more different than Donna, in terms of comedy stylings. So what these guys have done to put an hour together that will be cohesive.
Absolutely.
They're really clever. They're really good.
That's the really special thing, though, because I think pretty much everybody or most people have met each other now online. I mean, we've been doing our online shows since February, so we pretty much have met each other on these Zoom shows that we've been doing on Sunday afternoons. But very few people have met in real life. We had one opportunity. We did obviously the open mic in Nottingham and the showcase at the Carousel a few weeks back. That was amazing, and that's when I got to meet you.
We'll come back to that and talk about that in a minute, actually.
Yeah, we definitely should. We'll come back to that. But that was a really nice opportunity for quite a few people to meet. But this is going to be the first time that so many people will have met each other. We've got nearly 40 people coming, and most have never met in real life, but they've played together. They've done all these online gigs together. So I think it's going to be really special. And the fact that so many people have crafted their shows offline, online, and then they're just going to do it in real life, I think it's quite special. I'm really excited. I really can't wait. There's some really nice pairings, and also just bringing this Anglo-Dutch thing, because I'm based in the Netherlands, Colin's based in Nottingham, and we've got comedians from the UK and from the Netherlands, and we've put a few of them together. So like Colin just mentioned, Samantha and Carly, we've got Fedor and Donna. We've got the Ones to Watch show, which is some up and coming comedians. We've got two girls from the UK scene, and Fakri, who is based over here in the Netherlands. He's from Sudan. So bringing people together that don't even live in the same country, I think is quite cool.
We set out to do that because I think we talked about comedy festivals at the very beginning, and we talked about comedians doing our shows, and we turned down comics that wanted to do our shows to preserve some of these mixed shows, didn't we? Because we felt that, like, me and Rachel are splitting an hour between us. Me and Rachel aren't ready to do an hour show yet. I mean, we've not, it's not that we couldn't if we wanted to. It's that, so again, we've just
Are we ready to do half an hour each, Colin, even?
When I've written it.
We were up till what, 2 o'clock last night writing.
Yeah. So what it's done is, you know, like me and Rachel we're business partners now. Sounds Proper is a proper company. It's a proper thing. But
it's real now. We've
never done a split show together. So we're tying in a theme of, we've called our show Blink and You'll Miss It. It's a kind of insight into two very different people's attitude to parenting, I think. You know, we can agree that me and Rachel differ somewhat when it comes to parenting. And so we decided to run a show on a theme, you know, and I think so that's what we really tried to do. We tried to, yes, allow some of the comics to do the hour shows, but these split bills were dead important to us. The first show of the day is 3 young Dutch comics, isn't it?
Yeah.
Called Three Little Pigs. I think they're all under 23, aren't they? They're all really young.
What's the names?
So this is with Lara, Benedetto and Diedrich. And do you know what's really cool is that Lara Cotti, she's based over here, she's Spanish, but she won the Funny Women competition. So there was the Funny Women competition this summer.
Oh, yeah, I've seen advertising for that. Yeah.
And the one to watch, Caroline Mads, who is in the One to Watch show with Fakri and Fathia. She was a finalist in So You Think You're Funny this year up in Edinburgh.
Oh, fantastic.
So we've got some good up and coming young comics. You know, what we've done is we've tried to, you know, you might look down our list of things and think there's not masses of names that I recognise, but I think we deliberately gave the spots to comics that were at the beginning of their voyage and hungry.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, so I think we definitely, development is at the root of everything we do.
Yeah, and I'd say with very, very few exceptions, every single one of these comics has played for Sounds Proper on our online shows, and now some of the actual live shows, of course, because we did our live shows in August. In November, we started doing open mics in Nottingham and showcases, and now we've just started over in Utrecht in the Netherlands. So they've either played for one of those shows or online or multiple times. A lot of them have played several times.
Yeah. And I think that's the magic thing about the Ones to Watch show again, and come back to that, because Fathia has played at every one of our shows, starting at an online open mic. She's worked all the way through the showcases. She's done, you know, so I think what we really try and do is find people that we like working with and give them that bit of extra support to, you know, a lot of our comics are doing their first comedy festival. If you look down that list, so many are doing their first festival or their first UK festival or.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was kind of ethos you were going for with the launch night. Bringing people together from different, it was actually internationally as well, because we brought people over from the Netherlands, and there was people from Ireland, and, you know, obviously Scotland's not your country. So I came from another country, technically. And it was a fantastic night. The lunch night was fantastic.
That was really, really special. And it was, I mean, I think what was so special is we had a lot of the people that have been with Sounds Proper since the beginning as well. You know, because what did we, it was February, wasn't it? We started during lockdown, and that was pretty, I mean, tough times, right? I mean, we were on full, I mean, I think the UK was a little bit more relaxed, but we were on full lockdown then. I mean, at a certain point, we weren't even, I mean, we had curfews. We weren't allowed out of the house after 8 o'clock in the evening.
When we stopped in February, it was horrid.
Yeah, and everyone was stuck indoors, and with our online shows, it just gave everyone this outlet. And so we had people that have been with us from the beginning, not only doing the online shows, but we had writers groups, we had some workshops, we got people together on Zoom. And so a lot of the people that had started with people like Alan, people like Vicky, obviously yourself, you've been, you know, from the beginning. Maeve was there pretty much at the beginning. And then just to see everybody together in the same room and actually be able to sort of hug each other and touch each other, was just like, it was really special and quite freaky at the same time. It was very strange,
surreal.
Yeah, it was surreal.
I think the venue accommodated that, accommodated all of that. The sort of not clash, the mesh of cultures and people, also an anxiety, and it was a different type of venue. It's a beautiful venue, the Carousel. I really like it. I'm really fond of it.
It's funny, it gets mixed feelings, the Carousel. I love it as a venue, though. I think that they're amazingly supportive. Yeah. It's not a fucking drunk comedy audience. If you want that, then you go and play at a different venue. It's, they listen to what you're saying.
Yeah. No, that's a beautiful venue.
But what I would say about that whole experience is that, it was bizarre, but it wouldn't have happened without COVID. We wouldn't be now having this conversation without COVID. And I think when it's all died down a bit and we all reflect.
Right. Well, I'm not going to give a shout out for the COVID.
No,
but I totally get your point, man. Absolutely. I mean, this podcast is called "Oh Lockdown, How We Laugh."
Yeah, but it's nice to celebrate the good things that came out, because there's so many things to bitch about, and obviously, let's not underplay it. It was a really, really tough time, and it still is. It's still really difficult, and a lot of people have suffered. Mental health has gone through the roof, but it's really nice to see something that's come out of COVID that has been so positive, and we've created this community. And I mean, Alan, bless him, he was so sweet. He had this dream. He said he had this dream that he had like this Guess Who game, and all of a sudden it came to life, and he was seeing all these people sort of go from 2D to sort of real, and that was just the night before we all met in Nottingham, and I thought that was just really it's so true that suddenly.
Oh, speaking of Alan, that's another thing I thought as well. So you want to be Britain's next soap star?
Oh my god, yeah, I so want to see this show. I have no.
It's a great show. I've seen it a couple of times. I actually performed at it, but I'm not family friendly enough to suit the vibe this time.
So tell us about you actually seen it then. So
yeah.
How old are you? Are you Britain's next soap star? And it's on. He's doing it twice. So he's running it at 1 p.m. on the Saturday and on the Sunday. What's it about?
12 on a Saturday and a Sunday.
Well, it's essentially he sets himself up as a casting agent, which sounds immediately like it might go dark.
But it's time on the couch, young lady.
It's not. It's far away. It's as far away from fake taxis you can possibly get, though. It's family friendly.
And it's got a 12 o'clock spot because it's family friendly,
Yeah.
Okay, I've just realised we need to get the programme page updated because I'm reading it.
And essentially, it's okay. I can do a good job of describing the show. It essentially sets up an audition to be a soap star, and then does exercises with the audience, and there's games and just fun moments of interaction between the audience and the host, and some straight comedy to break it up. It's a fantastic concept. It's so much fun to watch.
I'm looking forward to seeing it because I didn't get to see it when he took him to Edinburgh because I didn't go this year. But I'm looking forward to it.
Well,
me too.
I helped out in the first couple of days, but I was away from Edinburgh for a few days, and then Maeve Boffey helped him for the rest of the week. And apparently the Saturday night was an absolute sellout smash.
She's great, Maeve.
Yeah, Maeve's fantastic. Yeah.
She's great. She's really good. Maeve's coming down with you, isn't she, to help us?
No, she's coming from London this time.
Is she coming from London? I know she's coming. I think she's coming up a bit earlier as well. I think she's coming up on a Wednesday or something.
Yeah.
But
she's coming from London now, I think.
Yeah, I think she's based in London. Yeah, but she'll be coming. Yeah, so be you and her be there and helping us all weekend. Part of the crew. I can't wait. It's going to be.
I'm going to be doing the podcast and the photography, and we should probably say just now that I'll be offering a very competitive deal on photos and videos for any acts of the show who happen to be listening, and you should be listening because this is the show about your show. So listen.
Exactly. No, but tell us about your photography, because Jimmy, you're a little bit what's the word? You're very modest when it comes to talking about photography, but it is fantastic. It is.
I'm modest, but I'm also very, very self-promoting as well. Don't forget that. Fucking, you know what I mean? If you let your timeline go, it'll be flooded with my photographs in 10 minutes. So I don't need to say much. I just let the work speak for itself, which is.
But what kind of photos are you doing then? So tell everyone, what are you doing then at the festival? What can you offer?
For the festival, I'll basically go to shows and take photographs. I'll get close-ups, I'll get side views, I'll get audience shots, I'll get audience reaction shots, I'll get inventive shots that basically capture the vibe of the audience. And as I said to you before we started recording, if it's a bad vibe at the audience, the people who see the photographs will never know, because I will create a good vibe. Now that you can't ever call what I just said modest.
Excellent.
But we'll be getting video as well, and so for any of the action, just for the just for the festival and you guys as well, be a good snapshot, because I've done that for the launch night as well, and I'm really happy with the photographs I got.
Yeah, no, the photographs from the launch night are absolutely fantastic.
It's just a thing I love doing. It's funny because I participated in Scottish Comedian of the Year at the weekend, and the promoter said that I get some absolute belters of a shot, but I should quit comedy and focus on the photographs because my comedy is beyond mediocre.
That's so harsh. That is so hard and so untrue.
I mean, I love it. It's my quote from that particular promoter that I'll use in flyers. Like, but I think one thing he overlooked is that the photography, that specific part of my photography, which is actually the least sort of paid attention to, or the least significant part of my photography, because I do a lot of street scenes and things as well. But anyway, that particular part of my photography comes from being a comic. I would not be able to take those photographs if I didn't completely understand the dynamics and the makeup and just the vibe of a room.
Yeah, and I think that's quite a special skill, to be honest, and it's quite a nice niche to have.
But I mean, I'm waiting for some audience member to shout out, "Stick to taking photos, you unfunny cunt."
Flyers, he's a much better photographer.
But I've got a good set. I've got good jokes. I just need to work on my stage presence, and I'll be fine. I mean, I'm smashing 1 in 5 just now, so I'm not entirely happy with that ratio, but I can live with it.
Yeah. No, we love your comedy. I it's nice to see you on a stage, but you're not always doing it on stage, are you? I still remember one of the best times on Sounds Proper was the comedy from the Edinburgh Festival, and you were outside in a phone box, and you just had everyone in stitches. It was fantastic. So
he did it from the phone box and still shorted us on his set.
It's better to leave them. Honestly, I've got a real fear of people talking too long. I remember one time there was an actor in his third gig, came up to me outside a venue and said, "I don't think 15 minutes will be enough. No, I don't think 10 minutes will be enough for me. Do you think they'll let me do 15?" And his third gig.
Oh gosh.
I was like, "Fuck, man, they might, but I won't let you, man. I'll stop you."
No, exactly.
My first gig was a 5, right? I did a 5 at a competition, and then my second gig I did 10. You know, that was quite a jump, because I remember thinking after 5, 5's not very long, but then when you jump up to 10 from 5, that's a big jump.
Yeah,
I remember.
my very first gig was meant to be a 5, and it went to 8, and it was completely unstructured. And like, I was kept going back and looking at my notes, and I smashed the gig, right? But when I watched the video, and I watched this video at least 100 times, like, it started to get to me how unstructured and how over time it was. But at the same time as well, that's became an early kind of lesson that I've learned that I'll need to break out of now.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I think as well that there's a thing with comedy, isn't it? There's a lot of comics in that 10-minute bracket. There's thousands of comics that can do 10 minutes. But once you wander above sort of 15 to 20, then the pool of comics that you're competing with for gigs becomes much smaller.
Yeah.
There's one thing in talking for 20 minutes. There's another thing in quite being funny.
Yeah. That's what I love about these festivals as well, because I just find there's not that many opportunities to do any more than sort of 10, 15 minutes. And I mean, we got a lot, I mean, especially over here, a lot of open mics. I think the same in the UK as well. But we've got a bit of a disproportionate amount of open mics. So you get like maybe 8 to 10 minutes. But what I love about the festival stuff is that you get a chance to try something a little bit longer. And that's something you don't get to do that often, you know, and especially if you're sharing a bill, we've got sort of 3 comics sharing a bill for an hour, you get to do a nice sort of 20-minute set. It's different, you know, it's a different vibe. I like that.
But like Colin was saying, you have to be very careful about talking for 20 minutes and entertaining for 20 minutes. Because I noticed with my sets, 2 things. One, the audience kind of wears out patience for me at about 9 minutes. And a 20-minute set, because so many of my jokes are so personal, that whether or not this is actually the case, I feel as if I've given too much information about myself by the time I get to about 15.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but isn't that any the way about being a comedian? It's just you're there anyway. You're being very vulnerable if you start talking about yourself. So that's just part of it, I think. I
mean, even these days, a throwaway line where I talk about having been in prison 20 years ago, and I say people still ask me what that was like, probably because I keep bringing up my fucking comedy sets. Like, and it works, you know. But like, it's a genuine fear. Maybe I'm talking too much about my past. When I'm 44 now, I'm not even that kid anymore, you know. Like,
but it's also I really personally appreciate the personal touch with comedy, because I think I'm not a real pun comedian. I do appreciate people that come up with their puns, but I think anyone in a sense can tell a pun. It's never relatable to them. Yeah. What I really, really love about your comedy and a lot of people that make it relatable is that you're learning something about the person that's up there, and it makes it very personable. And also you can't imitate it. You can't imitate your own true story. And I think also, do
you know who's got a perfect balance of that thing's Masai Graham?
I've never seen Masai Graham, and I really want to see him. I've heard a lot of good things about him.
Masai, on you go. Come on.
Well, the way you work, Jimmy, is right. You see, me and Rachel are storytellers. We don't really write gags, neither of us.
Yeah.
We're not gag merchants. Whereas you strike that nice balance between telling a good story and you've got the little gags. Like we were talking about one of your gags last night, the one about the Queen and Prince Andrew. You know,
yeah, I love that. Yeah.
So I don't write short form jokes. It's not the way but you have this balance where you'll throw a story in and you'll break it up with a couple of short form things. And then, you know, and I quite like that. Do you know what I mean? It's not something that I don't write gags. It's why I come unstuck at shorter gigs, because what I have to do is I have to take something out of a bigger piece and make it fit into a smaller amount of time. Whereas your comedy lends itself, you've got a bit more of a blend.
Well, I can actually tell you the secret to that, and not worry about it being stolen, because it can be. Like, I don't write material. I don't sit down and do writing sessions. I mean, I do writing sessions with people sometimes, but I find that the stuff that really, really hits is things that I've said to someone, or things that I've said in a text conversation, or something that's occurred to me in the shower while thinking about my own situation or my perspective on something else that's happening.
Yeah.
And that's not really giving me enough material to progress. So I need to do something, but at the same time as well, that is where my best gags come from. Just my insane thoughts that make me laugh.
Yeah. Whereas I write hard.
Yeah.
I write hard. I'm always writing. Do you know what I mean? And my process, we were talking about this to Rachel a bit, but my process, I don't even put pen to paper till I'm sure it works. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. A lot of comics, they talk about this throwing away lots of material, and I just don't do it. I don't throw away material. If it's got to the point where I'm popping it in a set, then it either works or it will work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's, you know, who was it that was talking about, there's a famous author, I can't remember who it was, that says he has to write 90 pages of crap to get 1 page of good. I think he's doing it wrong.
I think that might have been Stephen King, actually.
He's doing it wrong, I'm telling you.
Yeah. I've got a really good lyric book by Lou Reed. Can always put our best lyrics, and at the end of it, it's got 2 interviews. One with Václav Havel, who was president of Czechoslovakia when it became whatever it became. What did the Czech Republic? And he'd been a dissident in the 60s and all that. Anyway, that's not important. And an interview with Hubert Selby Jr., who wrote Last Exit to Brooklyn and Requiem for a Dream. And like, he'd done a 20-page story that took him 6 years to write. Right? And Lou Reed was like, so you go back to it and you do this and then he's like, no man, I was writing it every fucking night. 6 years for 20 pages, do you know what I mean? Like, wow, that's dedication.
But what you're saying about writing there, Colin, is I like this whole theory about having to clear the pipes first. I don't know if you've heard that analogy, that you're literally, because what comes out first is all the obvious stuff. And that all has to kind of come out before you start getting more creative and thinking out of the box. So I think a lot of it is just purging, and you do it verbally, and you do it in your head. So it doesn't mean that you don't throw anything away. It's just you don't literally put it on paper, because right for you, the actual physical act of putting it on paper happens last. Whereas some people verbally kind of have this almost the verbal diary, but they write it down. I mean, that's what a lot of people do sort of, and that's when you purge, isn't it? And then after that, when the creative stuff comes.
But that sounds like you've got complete faith in your instinct and ability to know when the time to put pen to paper is. You know?
Yeah.
But a joke will formulate in my head. There's no specified amount of time that a joke will sit in my head for. It might sit in there for weeks.
Yeah. But you mull it over,
try it out in conversation. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I try my material out in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm working on something, I deliberately go and see my mate Andrew, and just we have a few drinks, and I throw the few little jokes out, and get a gauge to whether they work with somebody or not.
I've actually got a bit like, I would like to do a session on it, or maybe to try live, where, like, you know the MGMT song "Time to Pretend."
Yeah.
And he sings about you man the island and the cocaine and the elegant cars, and then he talks about choking and vomit and stuff, and heroin and stuff. Well, that's the lyrics to the MGMT "Time to Pretend," right? But Divine Comedy do a cover of that, and he doesn't mention heroin and cocaine. He says coffee and cigarettes, and then he doesn't say choke and vomit. He says choke and pheasant. And every time I listen to it, the lyrics, I'm like, that's a fucking cop out. That's not the real lyrics. That's a fucking middle class bullshit. Like, and I'd love to do a couple of minutes on my frustrations with that, and then kind of end it with, well, I used to take heroin and cocaine, but now I'm sitting smoking coffee and cigarettes, so maybe I'm a cop out.
Yeah.
Like, but I'd love to structure that in a conversational set. But it's, yeah, I could build it up. You know how angry I am with, you know, the guy from the Divine Comedy not doing the lyrics, not living by his rock and roll ethos, and then neither am I. So I'm into coffee and cigarettes. I'm a middle class idiot now. Shit. Like, but yeah, that's something I've been thinking about for ages, but I've not really got around it, man.
That's the other thing, isn't it? As comedians, sometimes we get pigeonholed in the way we think about stuff, right? So the assumption is that if you don't speak like a ruffian and you're a white male, I get lumped in with the liberal male white elite, and that's just so not me. Do you know what I mean? It's you know, I wish I had more of a local accent. You know what I mean? Because the assumption is that, you know what I mean. And
I've never accused you of being elite, Colin.
I've never been elite.
I think the more I get to know you, Colin, I think you and I are quite similar. Just in different cities. Like, there's a lot. Yeah. But it's I mean, there's this tendency to pigeonhole people into different ethoses and things, and it's not really constructive to what people claim they're trying to build, which is a fairer and more just society. But if you're going to immediately make enemies of somebody that doesn't exactly fit in with what you perceive things to be. So I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but I hope you got what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in comedy as well. We tend to, I think we begin marketing ourselves, and we begin being marketed before we're even aware of it.
We think about it. We do, because the first thing you do as a comic, when you think, right, I want to be a comedian, surely the first thing we do is brand ourselves, because you think, right, you know, who is my jokes like? Who am I aiming my jokes at? It's because you can't just walk into any room and tell any joke, can you? Not unless you're Eddie Izzard or George Carlin.
No.
You know?
Can confirm I've tried, doesn't always work.
But I also think it's not something that comes straight away. I think it's also something you end up sort of crafting as you go along, because you end up sort of finding out what kind of comedian you are. Because I don't know, I just look back at when I started, you know, and I've been doing comedy for 5 years now. And if I look at my style in the beginning compared to what it is now, it's definitely evolved. It's definitely very different, I think.
Yeah.
And I think as you do it, you kind of start to find what style you like. And obviously all the influences that you've had going along come out. I mean, for example, you look at Colin, you can tell he's been severely influenced by people like Eddie Izzard, and, you know, just the ridiculousness that he puts in there. Whereas, you know, other people, they don't do that as much. They might have more punny or, you know, more sort of storytelling.
I think I tried not to consciously think too much about who I resemble. Like it's because I think if you start even a negative comparison, it will kind of ruin it.
Yeah.
I think we just learn by doing.
Yeah.
In fact, we were talking about that with my photography before as well. It's like I'm really reluctant to take courses and things and learn too much about stuff when I'm developing a kind of punk ethos with it, a DIY. Just take my camera and take the pictures select them and edit them, and then give them to the person that or display them, you know. And it's the same for comedy. We just
that's the beauty of doing it, though, because you found your own style. I think if you if you try and be too influenced by courses and teachers and whatever, I think you could end up just being pushed into a sort of different style that's not authentic. But I think you have to find your own way. Same with comedy, you find your own style, you find what fits you and what suits you.
I think you can look at most comics though, and you can see their influences on the whole. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look at me perform, you know that you can see the Eddie Izzard influence on the way I work. You can see the George Carlin influence on the way I deliver. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's that a real student of comedy would look at a comic and go, well, you're influenced by that. Do you know what I mean? And I think I think that's important too, because, you know, if you're a painter, you might do a painting in the style of Monet. You know what I mean? If you're a painter, you might do you know what I mean? You'll mimic the styles of the people you like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't think that's, you know, I don't think we should feel ashamed of that. I don't think we should at all. I don't know.
I think it's nice to show influence, and still you can still find your own sort of style as well. You know, you don't have to mimic everyone. It's just being influenced by them, and you take bits out of it. But that's what
I think that's kind of what I meant about not consciously. It's just being aware that your view of comedy was shaped by the things that made you laugh.
Yeah.
So basically from that you know what's funny. You don't need to go back and go, why was that funny with a lot of things, you know? It's like it just forms your style. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, it's not
I was gonna say that's what I love about comedy though, is that you can't compare comedians. I mean, you can have so many comedians on a bill. You know, you go to a comedy evening and you might watch 8 different comedians on an open mic, and every single one of them has a different style, different way of delivering, different style of jokes, different angle, perspective. That's what I love about comedy, is it's got so many dimensions to it. And just to bring it back to the festival, because that's what we were talking about, if you look at the lineup of people that are on there, like, you can't really find 2 comedians on there that you'd say, oh yeah, they're very, very similar. They might have a very similar sort of topics that they talk about, but there's just so many different styles and so many different ways of doing it. That's what I love about it.
Totally, man. Totally. It's lovely part of comedy. And going back to the lineup for Nottingham Comedy Festival, on Saturday night at the Carousel, you've got the Scottish Falsetto Sock Puppet Theatre, which I'm really looking forward to.
We are so excited about having the socks. We had the sock puppets play a few times for us online, and they went down a storm. I actually
hosted with them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because we had them play, and then you co-hosted a whole show, didn't you?
That was hilarious.
Yeah, I had them on the podcast and interviewed them, and it became a therapy session with me sitting with 2 socks. Like, I'm still not entirely sure if they exist. I'm only coming to the festival to see if they exist.
I'm a bit nervous about the festival because I almost don't want to meet Kev, the guy behind them, because in my head the socks are
doesn't have a name. He's called the man down there in this podcast. There's no Kev.
Yeah, exactly. I fully believe that the socks are real. I mean, we captured all these quotes from the show that they were on, and there were people just going, I'm pissing myself laughing. They were just crying with laughter. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen
we finished
song.
We finished the show with Laura Monmouth.
Yes.
Right. Well,
she went on before the socks, and I actually peed a little.
Yeah, there were people just absolutely crying. People were literally just sobbing with laughter. People like just putting messages in the chat going, I've just spat out my drink. I've just nearly wet myself. It was just very, very funny. They did the Earth song, didn't they?
Yeah.
And it was just so clever. And if you've never seen it, go and see the socks, because they're
just after Laura Monmouth had done her Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, that was
is Laura not performing at the festival as well?
Yeah, Laura's there as well at the festival. I'm just checking to see what date she's on.
It was Sharon M she's on. Or
She's doing an hour show on the Friday, I believe. I'm just checking now. She's on the Friday at the Sal.
9 o'clock.
At 9 o'clock, the old Salutation Inn, which is a lovely venue. That's our first venue in what?
I can't believe you don't know the lineup without looking at it.
I know, I pretty much know a lot of it off by heart now because I've looked at it so many times, but just to make sure I get it right. The old Salutation Inn is such a lovely venue. So that was the first venue that Sounds Proper had a real live show after going from the Zoom shows. And it's a gorgeous, it's one of the oldest pubs in the city, in the centre of Nottingham. And we've got this room upstairs in the pub. It's all, completely closed off from the rest of the pub. It's just, the vibe is lovely. And she's up there at 9 o'clock. So it's going to be such a laugh on the Friday night. Yeah, can't wait. She's very, very clever. She performed for us a couple of times, didn't she, on Sounds Proper shows as well? And just, went down a storm.
The first show she did was the special show we did for Alan's birthday.
Alan's birthday show, yes. Yeah, and now she's coming to do your birthday, isn't she?
My birthday's tomorrow.
Yeah, I know it is. But you'll be celebrating it, won't you? At the weekend, we're doing the festival.
Or drowning my sorrows, one or the other.
Yeah, no, celebrate. We'll make it your birthday weekend. It's all good.
I've not got that magic fucking Douglas Adams age. I was 42. I was 42 for a long time.
I'm actually 45 in a couple of days, man. Actually, today, this comes out Thursday, the 11th. I'm 45 today. And I've been waiting to reread Bill Drummond's book 45. Bill Drummond from the KLF.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I was waiting until I was 45 and now I can't find the fucking thing.
So you're the day before me. Mine's
yeah. Right. What age are you? What age?
43.
43, right. Okay, if you'd have said 45, I would have started singing Disco 2000 with it. We were born within an hour of each other.
I'm not quite.
So you're born on the 11th then, basically, Jimmy?
Yeah.
The 11th of the 11th. Oh, that's a really special day over here. That's called, they call it St. Martin's Day here. And all the kids in the Netherlands, they go out, it's a bit like trick-or-treating, and they go around knocking on your door and singing to you, and you have to give them candy. Oh, cat sweets, like treats and stuff. So
I'm moving there and I'm getting double amounts of candy because it's my birthday.
Yes, exactly. That's what we do. So yeah, born on St. Martin.
Right, cool, man.
It's a big thing.
So we'll have a joint birthday party next week as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, we will celebrate. And it was my birthday last week as well, the week before. So we'll just celebrate that.
No, we can't.
Yeah,
you're not joining our joint birthday party. That's quite
lovely. Okay, fair enough. I just turned 33.
Oh, of course you can, man.
33. She's still living on the high that a man in a club told her a bit back she was 30. I think he was drunk.
He was perfectly sober. He thought I was 30 years old. And I think if someone thinks I look 30, then I am 30.
You're identifying as 30.
I identify as a 30-year-old. Yeah.
That's Ricky Gervais.
And you need compliments commensurate with a 30-year-old, otherwise the person that doesn't give them is getting cancelled. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Or stabbed.
Or stabbed, yeah. Depending on which part of town you're in. Yeah.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
So, apart from Sounds Proper things from the 19th, what else is on the festival from the 12th?
On the festival itself, there's all sorts of stuff.
I know Late Stage are doing it, Alex Lee's doing it.
Programs running between the 7th and between the 12th and the 20th, I think.
Eddie Johnson as well. He's just done his album launch party. So he's put out his album. I think he's really funny. He's played for Sounds Proper a couple of times. And I think I love a musical comedian. I think it's nice to break it up a bit, just to have a bit of a change. So he's playing at the Angel Microbrewery on the Monday night. So I think that'll be a good one.
Yeah.
Tim Minchin's playing in the week, isn't he? But
yeah,
he just happens to be in Nottingham during the comedy festival.
Yeah,
just go up and stick a Nottingham Comedy Festival on all his posters and one for Sounds Proper while you're at it. Fuck it.
Yeah, just get.
He's wacky. He'll dig it.
Yeah.
He's my hero, Tim Minchin, but I'm not paying 42 quid a ticket to go and see him.
No, exactly. But you can go see Alex Lean. He's on at the same time for a fiver.
Definitely go and see Alex Lean then.
Yeah.
I'm actually hoping Alex will maybe still be around like next week, but I've not seen anything that he's on. I've not spoken to him. But,
Alex, I think Alex is doing awkward question time, isn't he?
Yeah. We're doing Joy Dex as well. Joy Dex and improper. Is he not doing improper tour?
Not a clue. Don't know.
He was selling out at the Fringe. He was selling out the Globe with Joy Dex at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock.
Wow.
And then selling out improv provocateur around the street, and it was just an L shape. And I was going back to watch Wrong Comedy. I was usually on with Bob Walsh. His crowds were amazing for the Fringe this year.
Like, he had to turn people away, didn't he? They were just all queuing up to get in.
And he had a turn away count on his Facebook posts every night as well. He was like, I turned away 25 tonight, 25. And then he's like, pure always kid on modest posts, like, oh no, I only had to turn away 12 people tonight. I'm worried about my crowds. Fuck up, Alex.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that is a nice position to be in.
Yeah,
so I really want to see at the festival.
Oh, man, do you know if Jürgen Strack's coming? Going to the festival. Jürgen is flyer.
I'm not sure.
He's a comedian. I've never actually seen Jürgen do comedy, but he's the best flyer in the business. Like other people are trying to hire him, and he was cutting about down the street like Monty Burns, like Smithers from that episode of The Simpsons with Hank Scorpio, where he's like, I work for Monty Burns. Like, Jürgen, we want to hire your services. I have a boss, thank you. Jürgen's the best flyer in the business, man. He was walking about with a construction outfit, and he's just the nicest guy I fucking know, except he's really bitchy as well.
So do we need to hire him in to fire all our shows then?
Yes, that's basically what I'm saying. I'm giving you a big advert in the middle of my podcast to hire Jürgen Strack, but of course you might find that he's otherwise engaged with Alex.
Who else is here? John Pearson's doing a show in the week.
Do you know who I'm excited about? Alfie Moore. Have you ever heard any of his podcasts? It's a Fair Cop.
No.
Oh, very, very, honestly, I really recommend that one. He does this Radio 4 comedy show called Fair Cop. He's an ex-policeman, and he tells you about the stories, about real cases that he dealt with. And he gets the audience to decide, what would you do in this situation? Would you take them into the police station? Would you do this? Would you give them a caution? Would you arrest them? And he gets the audience to decide, and then he tells you what he really did. But the way he tells it, he's such a storyteller. Very, very good comedian. This should have been on last year. This was something that was rolled over from last year because obviously the Nottingham Comedy Festival couldn't go ahead due to COVID. But he's on a Monday. I'm really disappointed I won't actually get to see him because I'm not flying over until
actually returning to the original theme of the podcast, which is and how we laughed. I'm wondering, like, what the fuck's happening with COVID? Because clearly it's still out there. Why are like? And apparently it doesn't affect world leaders at massive events in Glasgow either. Because they'd be like free reign. There's no COVID restrictions with most of that stuff, like apart from heavy security that they probably think passes for COVID restrictions. But why isn't it being like as tight as it was last year? I mean, it's a good thing that we're all able to get out and things, but what's going on with that, man? What's going on?
I mean, just from my perspective, I mean, here in the Netherlands, because there's almost like a two sort of tier thing. If you've been double vaccinated, then you can just almost go about your normal life, but if not, it's really, really difficult. We've got cases going up here, and the majority of people in the hospitals are the ones that haven't been vaccinated. So we've got the vaccine passport over here, which I know in the UK is a massive controversial thing. But it's fine. Like, you don't need to be double vaccinated to have it. You can also get a COVID test. And if you have a negative COVID test, it also gives you the QR code. And you just have it on your phone and you just show your QR code. So they've just tightened that up. Before it was just, you were just showing it in cafes and restaurants. But now you have to show it at sporting events and in the cinema, and they're trying to make it easier for people that have been vaccinated and a bit more difficult that haven't. But the good thing is it means you can carry on doing comedy shows. So we can still have people in as long as they show their COVID QR code at the door, then they're allowed into the venue, and then we don't have to distance and we don't have to wear masks. It's great.
That's actually the thing in Glasgow just now. Obviously we've got COP26, and there's been so many mass gatherings that I would like to be part of. I would fucking love to photograph. But I don't want to risk my ability to go into comedy clubs to do it.
Yeah.
Right now the important thing for me is to get into comedy clubs, get my own gigs photographed, get as many gigs photographed as I can. And I feel as if I'm missing out with COP26, but I'm probably better just staying away from the mass gatherings,
Yeah, that's the difficult thing. It's really yeah, I'm not really sure.
It's like I think I'm lucky enough to be able to do comedy after all that time in the house. So I think putting it at risk is insane, you know.
Yeah, it's difficult because on the one hand, you kind of want to have your life back again, and it's great to see big gatherings and all that kind of thing. And on the other hand, I know a lot of people are still really, really nervous about it.
Oh yeah. Because of the fringe and things and how busy I've been with comedy, I'm forgetting there is actually people still not wanting to leave the house, you know.
Yeah.
Is it wrong that I zoned out a little bit then? I think COVID can fuck off.
Well, you fucking changed your tune at the start of the podcast. It was all about let's thank COVID, praise COVID. Now you're like fuck COVID.
Right, when
his ADHD kicking in now, he's got no attention for it anymore. He's like, oh, whatever.
The essence of parenting is you ignore the bad, praise the good. And same with COVID. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I just something that occurred to me, and I thought since the podcast was set up about lockdown, we might as well mention something about COVID and lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think people, there is a hunger from the majority of people though to get life back to normal. I quite like the way that everyone has sort of adapted back into sort of life before COVID. So I'm just seeing people, I don't know about you, but going to comedy clubs now where all the comedians are just giving each other a hug again, and it feels so normal. There are still some comedians that are still doing the fist bump or the elbow or just sort of staying away, but you're starting to see people really sort of hungering for that contact again, and just getting life back to normal.
Well, I've instinctively hugged a few people, and then it's like, I didn't mean to like, almost kill you, sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Happy to see you.
It's really, really awkward. I never know what to do now, because it used to be the thing, like you'd go to a comedy gig and you just hug all your fellow comedians, and now it's like you kind of always have to ask.
Some people with the elbow bump. Some people with the elbow bump. That's just I'm not way to get you anyway. Fuck you. There's your elbow bump. The elbow bump is the real life care emoji.
I'm not quite at sort of pre-COVID levels of licking other people yet. I'm still keeping that to a minimal.
It'll come when you can start licking people's faces again.
People worry about the state of comedy, but what about the sex club industry? That's surely still suffering.
Oh, do you know what I loved the other day? So we've just, like I said, we've just stepped things up a little bit more in the Netherlands because
we're going to say the sex clubs.
Yeah, no, the sex clubs. Yeah, set things up the sex clubs. And then in the Netherlands, we had to tighten up the controls a little bit more because the COVID cases has gone up. So we didn't have masks, but they've just been brought in last Saturday. They brought masks back into things like supermarkets, shops, and they also are applicable for all contact workers and like, the people in nail salons and hairdressers. And I just love the way that our Prime Minister, Mark Rutte, and he also just went, but there is an exception to this, sex workers don't have to wear masks. And I just thought, that was just brilliant. In the middle of a press
That's crazy because I insist my sex workers wear masks.
Me too. I've said in my set rather famously that
that's in all my contracts.
I used to quite like medical mask and gloves on a lady.
It doesn't do it for you anymore, does it?
I lost the fetish through COVID.
I just love the way they just had to point that out very specifically. That sex workers don't have to wear a mask over here.
If I lived there, I'd be voting another guy. That's fucking bang out of order.
Oh, dear.
You think all sex workers should have to wear masks, Jimmy? What? Like,
yeah.
Like,
I want to become a sex worker despot. I'm going to start a political party about it. See how I go.
You could put them in novelty masks, couldn't you? Things like Scream and that kind of thing.
Scream. I don't know about the Scream mask. Right.
Whatever.
I remember actually last year, like there was when people started wearing masks in public and things. There was something quite hot about some people wearing masks. Like, there was. I'm not like you haven't been in contact with people. You're just actually seeing people again, and all you see is the eyes, and you're just like something quite hot about that. I might think about that later. Like,
that's just you, man. That's
if they've got nice eyes, it's fine.
You're the one who's just basically admitted having a medical fetish, man.
Yeah, not anymore. It's gone. I feel nothing now when I see a mask and gloves.
Well, no, I'm talking about last year, about this time last year, when we started to come out of lockdown, and then we get promised Christmas, and Boris stole Christmas.
Forest Stole Christmas.
Yeah.
That could be a film.
Do you remember that last year? It was like, yeah, you have a Christmas. You may have a Christmas. You'll probably have a Christmas. You'll definitely have a Christmas. You won't have a Christmas. I'm
No, exactly.
feeling Christmas. You can have Christmas for 10 minutes as long as there's no turkey. You're just like, what the fuck?
Were you allowed like one person for Christmas Day or something like that?
Pure load of shit, man. Yeah.
Oh, it was bollocks. I mean, I was in the Netherlands last Christmas, and we'd been in curfew since October. So we not allowed out after 9. You couldn't buy alcohol after 8 o'clock. I mean, what they thought buying alcohol would do, if you sat at home all the time, you should at least be allowed to be drunk at the same time.
I think they should have made it mandatory.
That was them trying to turn England into Scotland. The SNP gone mad.
Honestly, man, it was meant. You could be arrested in Holland if you were seen out with alcohol past 9 o'clock.
Yeah. And also the really weird thing is you would go into the supermarket.
Oh, sorry, was that Holland you were talking about? Not
in Holland. Yeah.
Holland
and they had this 8 o'clock curfew on alcohol, so you'd go into the supermarket, and at 8 o'clock they would barricade the aisles that sold alcohol. It was just very, very bizarre. So you could go in at 10 to 8 and buy a bottle of wine, but if you went at 8, you couldn't. It was just weird.
What it meant was at 10 to 8 you had aisles full of Dutch people buying wine.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, it's just like people queuing up to buy wine.
Okay, well, on that happy note of remembering how terrible lockdown was, we'll just end the show on a wee bit more appreciation for the festival, which is running from the 12th to the 20th in Nottingham of November. 21st, sorry, the 12th to 21st of November in Nottingham at various venues. And the best one of those venues is definitely the Carousel, as we established.
Yeah, and the Old Salutation Inn.
And the Old Salutation Inn as well. Got to give them props as well. But there's so many
things. We're on the Friday, we're in the Old Salutation Inn, and then we've got 2 days at the Carousel on the Saturday and the Sunday.
Actually, do you want to give a quick rundown of the events? Sounds proper events.
Can I? Is that all right? Okay.
Well, you're the one that's reading off the paper. You might as well do it properly.
Okay. I am going to do a complete rundown of who we've got playing. So bear with me because we have got 24 hours of comedy. So I'm going to do a complete rundown. So we start off on the Friday, okay, which is the 19th of November. We're at the Salutation Inn. We start off with a mic at 4 o'clock. Then we have got the Three Little Pigs, which is 3 comics from the Dutch scene, Diedrich, Lara and Benedetto. Then followed by the Crack Dealers, the very best in new Irish comedy.
So what's the lineup for that? Who's on that?
We've got Kigo, who's played for us loads from Kigo Laughs. Yeah. Very lovely guy. And he's bringing over some fellow comedians, Sinead, Ben and Jess. They're all fantastic, really good fun. So there's 4 of them doing the show and being introduced by our very own Maeve as well. So Brilliant. It's going to be an Irish extravaganza, that one. I can't wait. And then followed by Kendra Borgen and Roger Back, called Trading Places. So they're both also from here over in the Dutch scene, but they're both American. And Kendra's from Alaska. She's played for Sounds Proper absolutely loads. And he's actually Dutch. But he grew up in the United States, and they're doing this whole thing about trading places. What do you get when you've got 2 comedians who long to swap places? So that would be really, really good fun. Then after that, we got the best of Laura Monmouth. We talked about her, absolutely hilarious and very original as well. She will be there being assisted by her screen and her PowerPoint that are just legendary. I can't say any more than that. It's just absolutely legendary. Very, very clever. She is followed by Samantha Day and Carly Blair, who we talked about earlier. It's Too Late Now. I love this whole premise about the show. This one about 2 women who've made some very bad choices. It's basically Samantha and Carly showing you how to master important life skills like blaming other people, wasting time on distractions and compounding your mistakes. Sounds fantastic. I really love the idea of that one. Then we're going to finish the night. Colin and I have got our midnight showcase and after party. So doors open at 11:30 on that one, and we're just going to get everybody that wants to come and play. It's a kind of a free-for-all open mic showcase for all our Sounds Proper comedy friends, just to get the comedians playing and have a bit of a party. We've got the venue till, was it 3 a.m, Colin?
3 a.m. on the Friday, yeah.
Yeah, so it's gonna get messy. It's gonna be fun. But then we've got to make sure we're not too hungover, because we've got to be back the next morning at 12 in the carousel for Alan Ashby, Are You Britain's Next Soap Star. We talked about that as well.
Yeah.
Followed by a proper mic. Oh, and then we've got another nice one. This is from James and Sharon, and you met them both. They were in the carousel.
All right, cool.
They were in the carousel in Nottingham, weren't they?
James was the MC. Yeah, James Johnson.
Yeah, James Johnson MC'd. Yeah, and Sharon.
Fantastic job he done as well.
Oh, amazing job. Very, very funny. I do love the fact that he's put in his description that he's a 31 homosexual. I think if you look at the photograph on the program page, that was completely unnecessary. He's very very funny. Sharon and James are really, really good friends, actually, and they're doing a split show called Cynically Dead, which I think sounds fantastic. So they each take a hilariously cynical look at their lives and wonder where it all went wrong. From camel rides across Jordan to unwittingly spending 10 days on a saga cruise. They've got most bases covered. That's going to be very funny. They've got a great vibe going on between them, really nice chemistry between those two. So that will be fun. Them's our show at 4 o'clock in the carousel on the Saturday. Colin and I will be doing our Blink and You Miss It.
Again, hosted by Maeve.
Yeah, Maeve's hosting it for us. Yeah. So we'll be talking about the highs, the lows, and the stresses and strains of parenting from two completely different angles. Then we've got our promising middle-aged women. So we've got 4 lovely women here: Emma Crossland, Becky Heaviside, Kerry Robinson, and Helen Swallow.
They picked the title, by the way, not us.
Say that again.
They picked the title, by the way, not us.
Yeah, promising middle-aged women. Yes, they definitely did.
I feel the letter's about to be written.
Yeah, I love this. This is their description. Between them, they have 2 boyfriends, 3 husbands, 1 ex-boyfriend. Sorry, 1 ex-husband, 237 children, 6 cats, 2 rats, and over 150 years of life experience. You'd think they'd have mastered the subtle art of being grown-ups by now. I think that just sounds really good fun. I think it's going to be a real fun, tongue-in-cheek kind of look at growing middle-aged sort of disgracefully, I think. Yeah, I think that'd be fun. And then we've got Ishi. You just talked about Ishi earlier. Yeah. Ishi. We've never met Ishi in real life. Oh, Colin has. Colin has. I've never met her in real life, so I'm quite excited about meeting her in real life. She's named her show Love, Desire and Strawberries, and this is like a kiss and tell story about being a bit of a late starter, and she tells about emerging from years of sexual repression, sex, love, breakups and happily ever after. So I think that's going to be an interesting show. I think that'll be fun. She's doing a whole hour there.
She's a perfect example of the storyteller we were talking about. She's a great storyteller, very engaging and
really
funny.
Yeah, really good storyteller, very interesting. And she did some of the show for us. Was it 2 weeks ago last week on the Sounds Proper showcase, and it went down really well. So I can't wait to see the full thing. It's a full hour show, and then 8:30 p.m. on the Saturday night it's one of our highlights. Just the socks.
The socks!
I can't wait.
Yeah. I mentioned before we started recording about my recovery and I said I wasn't worried about taking drugs, but I can't guarantee I won't take acid to watch the socks in person. Or mushrooms at least. Something natural, hallucinogenic.
As a promoter, I have to say I love all the acts we've booked, but if I had to have a sneaky highlight that I'm looking forward to,
it's the socks, the fucking socks.
Definitely one of the highlights of the whole show, I feel, is going to be the
absolutely, man, I can't wait.
So with Fingers Crossed is the name of their show, and it's just
it's going to be hilarious.
Nonsense. I love it. The best of the nonsense they've produced in 18 months of isolation. That's how they've built it. It's going to be great. Absolute nonsense. Okay, and that takes us on to Saturday night. We've got a lady called Olivia Flood Wiley. She's doing her 1 hour special. She is also from the Amsterdam scene, and she's done. She debuted this show, I think, in the Amsterdam Festival this summer, the Boom Chicago Comedy Festival, and it went down really, really well. She's very special. Actually, I love Olivia. She's very vulnerable on stage, but well hard at the same time, and I quite like that sort of. And she's two characters,
doing very well as well. She's recently supported Darrow Brain.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, she came out just Darrow Brain. Yeah.
If you haven't heard of her, she's a great comic and she's worth a watch.
Yeah, really, really, really good. She says here, Olivia will take you on a roller coaster journey from her awkward childhood to her awkward adulthood. She's very awkward and vulnerable, and yet, like I say, very tough at the same time. I love that. So that's Slowpoke, and that is your Saturday night. Then we're going to take you to Sunday. Again, you can ease into the day again with Alan. He's doing the Soap Star, and then we've got our proper mic again. So again, another open mic for everyone to get warmed up and ready for Fedor and Donna with Mr. Misfits, which we talked about earlier. I again, one of my highlights. I can't wait. We've had both of them on the showcases online
Donna's been on the
several
podcast,
times, and they've always gone down so well. And they're just both lovely people. So it's going to be great.
Fedor's my favourite male comic from the Dutch scene.
Yeah, he's just lovely.
If I had to pick one, then Fedor, I love him. He's so funny.
Yeah, he's brilliant. And then we're going into the afternoon. We've got Caroline Mads, Fakri Faisal, and Fatia Sarapaspita, and they are the ones to watch. So these are the ones we talked about earlier. This is our progression show of people that started on our open mics and have worked their way up. And with Caroline Mads, she was a finalist in So You Think You're Funny. Fakri's from Sudan. He lives over here in the Netherlands. And Fatia, she's a local girl. She's in Nottingham, isn't she?
Yeah.
From Indonesia, but she lives in Nottingham now. So yeah, very excited about that. Then we've got, this is one of the most gorgeous women ever, Alex Batulis Fernandez, I did the same, we did the Funny Women Festival together, and she just absolutely blew me away with her set. She was just very, very funny. And she's there with Charlene Johan doing White Chicks 2. So that would be quite good.
It's a double act show.
It's a double act show, yeah.
So it's although they're on the bill together, they're not. I think they very much do stand up together.
Yeah.
So it's interesting as it's different to everything else.
Two stand-ups who happen to be brown women. Neither of them have seen White Chicks. It's quite good. And then we've got Mel Byron. Oh, we love Mel. Again, she's been with Sounds Proper from the beginning, and she's done a few.
The Dyspraxic gig was the Dyspraxic fundraiser was the first gig she did for us.
Right. Was Don Biswas part of that?
Yeah.
And
I
mean, that was right back in the early days of Sounds Proper.
He's a great comedian. Lovely guy as well.
That was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Harriet Kemsley headlined it. Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah, it was brilliant. A really fun night. Yeah, and Mel did an amazing job of emceeing that. And I think this is going to be a really nice show. So she's doing a full hour show.
It's worth commending Mel because she's been really helpful in the run up to the festival. She ran a marketing workshop for the acts. So she's been ever so helpful as well.
Yeah,
she's helping us do stuff that she'd normally charge for,
Yeah, she's a real expert when it comes to marketing and PR, and give lots of tips to people on writing press releases, how to market yourself, how to brand yourself, and has been extremely supportive to Sounds Proper. So I really, really can't wait to see this one. I like this, what she say, laugh along with recognition as Mel fumbles her way to the front, combining her own story with science and history to see if, in the words of George Eliot, it is never too late to be what you might have been. It's called Standing at the Back. It sounds really interesting. I can't wait to see that show. I think it'll be fun. So that's a 7 p.m. show on the Sunday. And then we've still got a couple more to come. We've got Ben Harrington. This is my favourite title for a show.
Actually, I didn't manage to catch up with him at the Fringe. He had a show and I didn't see him, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
in person.
Well, the show at the Fringe did really well, actually, and he sold out again. Was really successful show. And
something about your onesie.
This is the one. This is the show he's doing in Nottingham. Yeah. Don't crap in your onesie, Matilda.
That's it.
Got to be the best title for a show. It makes me want to go and see it. He's it's Ben's getting older. What should be the final flurries of youth sees him fall squarely into middle age with new ailments to contend with, medical dilemmas, alarming levels of grumpiness, and trying to keep up with his children. Join him for his new show, a series of funny, awkward and poignant stories about parenting, body ailments, fitness failures and holidays. I mean, I just think he's really funny, and he's played again for Sounds Proper several times in his, do you remember with his shiny gold backdrop, didn't he? He had these shiny gold curtains.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I'm looking forward to this. I think it'll be fun. Especially for like other parents and stuff to see, just talking about sort of having kids and getting older. So I think that'll be a really fun show. And then we've still got one more to go. The very, very final show of the festival and is Jake Steers and Louis Green. And I've never seen either of them, so I don't know what to expect. But it says they're two working class comics that are telling you their story through comedy. Sit down, buckle up and enjoy their charming and funny ways as they divulge their lives on stage. So this is one of the very few comics that haven't played for Sounds Proper, so I don't really know what to expect. But
right.
I'm expecting good things. I'm sure it sounds good.
Man. So is that everything?
That's everything. Yeah, that's all 24 hours of comedy.
And before we say anything else about it, have you ever thought of a career in maybe weather reporting?
I feel like I've
you just gave a pretty accurate weather report for an event that's not even happened yet. It's fantastic.
I know.
Thank you.
That was epic, and I think it's quite interesting to look now at the program and just sort of take a step back and think, my God, what have we done?
What we've let ourselves in for?
What have we let ourselves in for? Have we bitten off more than we can chew?
It's going to be so much fun.
We've got 37 comics coming over. We've got all these shows. It's epic. It's I think it's going to be very, very special. I think it's going to be very, very special. And I love also the fact that the festival should have ended on Saturday. And because we wanted to put on shows on the Sunday, they extended the festival for a day just for us. So Sunday is Sounds Proper Comedy's day.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Yeah.
I really look forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. So I'll just say to anyone listening, come and have a look. There's something for everybody. There really is something for everybody. If you want ridiculous, or if you want a bit more heartfelt, or you want sort of young comics or old comics, whatever you want, we've got the lot. We just
highbrow, lowbrow, and everything.
Yeah, everything in between. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I'm really looking forward to coming down and meeting you again in person next week. And
can't wait.
Being part of this festival.
Next week.
Next week, I know.
It's only a few more days till we see each other. Wow.
All right, man. Well, what's your socials before we go? Your tags and stuff.
I am on Facebook as Rachel Comedian. No, Rachel Comedy. And of course, Sounds Proper Comedy is our main page. So it's at Sounds Proper Comedy on Facebook and on Instagram, and at Sounds Proper Co on Twitter. And what about TikTok, Colin?
TikTok can fuck off. You know, when you didn't need to ask. You know, I you can find me at Comic Colin 78 on Instagram or Facebook. Yeah, I am on Twitter, but I don't really bother. I can't be arsed.
My personal feeling with TikTok is it sounds like a time bomb. And I'm not really poor joke. Well, end things, man. It's great to talk to you. See you next week.
Thanks, Jimmy. Can't wait to see you in real life.
Mana.
Mana. Mana.